know, we were talking earlier about big cases and what they mean and topics and their importance. A little background, you talk about in the book, you graduated with honors from Princeton, graduated law, stellar marks from Yale. Affirmative action, people are asking the question now, is there a place for it? Your colleague, Justice Clarence Thomas, believes not, right? And you firmly stand with the opinion that there is still a place for this, correct?
What I stand for is what I understood affirmative action to be when I experienced it.
Sure.
You have to understand that the period I'm talking about in my book was in the 1970s, at the very beginning of the civil rights movement, the very beginning when societal institutions were beginning to open their doors to people who were different. And at that time, the affirmative action I was a part of was not the quota system that developed later. It's not the systems that the court has struck down since then.
Right.
It was a system that was premised on one small acceptance.
So you are against it now?
I didn't say that, Barbara.
Right. Okay.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
All right. The system then was one in which society said, A, we have to open our doors, and B, we have to search more widely than we have before.
And thankfully, right?
Thankfully.
Right.
You know, there are kids in this audience who never lived through segregation. I'm only 58. And when I was born, Brown versus Board of Education was decided exactly 1 month before.
Wow.
Which means the country, all of our institutions, whether they were schools, public transportation, hotels, you name it, blacks and whites lived in a segregated society.
Right.
Those changes, the society we accept as existing today, has happened in my lifetime.
Right, yeah.
And there are kids who don't even know it existed. Right. So that affirmative action of those institutions saying, we're not going to go pick kids just from the schools we've picked from before. Princeton went to my high school. There was only one kid from my high school who had ever gone to Princeton before me. But they were searching more widely.
Right.
He was Asian American. They picked him. He was doing okay. They take a look at my application, and I was a pretty good student in high school, and they pick me.
But today, do you think we need affirmative action, or you're not allowed to say?
I'm not allowed to say. We have a pending decision.
I was pushing, but I know.
But I have said the court has struck down certain things. Certain approaches, it has said, clearly are not constitutional. And I'm certainly not endorsing those or anything else.
Is Justice Thomas a product of affirmative action himself?
He believes he was, and
And yet he's against it.
well, he viewed it as differently.
He gives you his reasons. Yeah.
He viewed it differently than I did. There's a line in my book which I think speaks my point, which is, if you're a kid from the background I came from, Elizabeth, the day I was given the highest honors at Princeton,
Right.
great irony that I had to go back to the library to find a dictionary to figure out what summa cum laude meant. All right? If you're a kid from a background where my parents had migrated from...
by the way.
I'm sorry? Highest honors.
That's right.
All right, the highest honors a university can give. But for a kid whose parents had migrated during the war, who were very poor themselves, they didn't know what to teach me.
Right.
How can they help me get to the starting line
If they didn't.
of a race I didn't know was being run?
You know what? Just
If they didn't open their doors to me, I would have never gotten to where I have.
Sonia, this book was just so awesome because one of the things you talked about was your relationship with your abuelita and how she just kept you centered there.
Grandmother.
Your grandmother, if you don't know what abuelita means, her grandmother. But you know, you've had such a distinguished legal career, and you were a prosecutor, then you were a partner in a law firm. 17 years as a federal court judge, which I would think is a shoo-in for Supreme Court justice. But when you heard that President Obama wanted you, you thought he was crazy. Why?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of New Yorkers on the court. And I, like everything I do in life, I prepare. And when people were talking about me as a potential nominee, took out a yellow piece of paper and did a pro and con. Why would he pick me? Why wouldn't he pick me? Right. And the con list was very long.